The best way to prepare for your fantasy football league is by using mock drafts with the best ADP. And the way you're going to get the best ADP and the best data for that is by using real money drafts. Now, Underdog is the most popular place to play, but unfortunately, they don't have mock drafts. So today, we're going to show you how you can actually mock draft using that real money Underdog ADP and prepare for your leagues. So all you're going to want to do is head over to fftradingroom.com, that's the fantasy trading room, go to NFL, go to tools, and click on draft sim. So from there, you can customize these settings however you want, but the main thing we want to change is ADP source from Fantasy Pros to Underdog. Now FFPC is also a good option, but Underdog is pretty close to your leagues. In my leagues, we play 3 wide receivers, so that's really similar to the Underdog wide receiver heavy format. But either way, I promise you, drafting with these positional rankings, even if it's a little different from your home leagues, will make you 1,000 times of a better drafter. So we're going to be breaking down the best strategy for pick 5 in this mock draft. And right now we see CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, CMC, and Jefferson go in the top 4 picks. And that leaves us between Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra. We can go to all available players, but these are our top 5. And in this case, I am going to be taking Jamar because I have him as my 4th ranked player. And normally him and Jefferson, go back to back. But I definitely want to get the wide receiver value here. It is a little tough because I do like going running back, wide receiver, and I'm going to be targeting a running back on the way back around. But I definitely think getting a stud receiver here is the move. And just hoping that we get a really good RB on the way back around. So the draft board kind of shakes up like this. Team 10 goes, so they get Garrett Wilson, and then they go Puka Nacua, Jahmyr Gibbs, JT goes off the board, which really sucks. But so we're back on the clock, and the best available running back is Saquon Barkley. Now, I wasn't a huge fan of Barkley at the beginning of the offseason. He was kind of going in the late first round, and at that price tag, I wasn't all in. I have some questions about how many rushing touchdowns Hurts is going to vulture, if he's going to check the ball down as much, if there's really going to be that many targets available for him when you have A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, even Dallas Goedert in that offense. But he's still an elite talent, and he's played in such a terrible situation his whole life that now you really have to expect things to get even better with the Eagles despite all of those worries I have. So we're going to start our team off 1 running back, 1 wide receiver. We'll go to the roster right here. Yeah, we have Saquon, Jamar Chase, and I think that's a fantastic start. I think building your team balanced when you can, especially in the middle rounds where, you're at middle of the draft where you're at pick 5, pick 6, I think that there's just such a plethora of good talent available in the first and second rounds that, you don't have to get that Tyreek Hill or that CMC and then just only go running backs or wide receivers after that. You can really just build your balanced team around a good running back and a good wide receiver. But we're now back on the clock in the 3rd round, and we see Devon Achane, Debo, Mike Evans, Waddle goes. So Malik Neighbors is a guy that I've been super high in this offseason, but Kyron Williams would really help round out my running back room with how, the running backs are being valued after that. So it's really tough for me. I'm going to go look over and kind of see what I'm thinking. I definitely have Malik Neighbors as my highest ranked player. It's just a matter of roster construction at this point. So I definitely still think that there's running back value on the board later on. So we are going to go Malik Neighbors, my top ranked guy. And I'm totally fine with him as my wide receiver too. I think he has a ton of upside to be great in fantasy football. Now, we're at the 406 now, and Jalen Hurts just went, Kelsey just went, and Cooper Kupp just went. But Josh Allen is still sitting there right for us. Michael Pittman as well. And it's really tough because I don't really see how I can pass up Michael Pittman in the 4th round. But at the same time, Travis Etienne is looking right at me. And I know I'm not going to get another shot to take him. So we're going to continue this balanced draft and pass up on Josh Allen, pass up on Michael Pittman, and get Travis Etienne and help build our core into 2 receivers and 2 running backs. Now, we're back on the clock in the 5th round. Pretty standard. Yeah, there was no shot that we were going to be able to get Etienne falling all the way back there. Michael Pittman went 2 picks after. And then we have a big tight end run, which really sucks for us because we can't really do much at the position. So We're probably just going to end up punting that. We could take Kyle Pitts here. Maybe he falls on the way back around. But I think the value here still lies at receiver. There's really no way I can pass up on Tank Dell or T. Higgins. And honestly, I'm going T. Higgins over Tank Dell despite all of the issues, T. Higgins has had. We're back on the clock. Kyle Pitts goes, so that sucks. That would have been my pick for sure. But we could still get George Kittle in, what are we now? The 7th round? In the 6th round? 606? I don't hate that value. I think he could be a top 6 tight end, top 4 tight end, even move the needle on a week-to-week basis. So it kind of really comes down to my tier break. So after that tight end, where do we have after that? It's Evan Ingram. And I like Evan Ingram, but he's definitely not an elite tight end. There's no real wide receiver that I feel like I need to go out and get. So I am going to go take George Kittle here. And again, keep building that balanced roster. So I'm not reaching for need, but drafting balance definitely does take it into account more than just trying to draft, wide receiver heavy, running back heavy, or just try and get the best value at whatever it takes every single time. I think drafting for value is definitely a very good strategy and something you want to do, assuming your league has a trade market as well. But you still should be conscious of what your team looks like and how you're drafting for need in terms of what your value is. So we could get Jaden Reed here, and I like that pick a lot. But what are other options? Kyler Murray, Chris Godwin, Xavier Worthy. Where are we at the running back position? We could get like Ramondre, but I think we could get Ramondre on the way back around. I wouldn't mind Kyler, and I typically don't go reach on a very elite tight end and an elite quarterback, but I wouldn't say either of these guys are, complete studs. So I'm just going to go keep the balance trend going, go Kyler Murray, and fill out our starting lineup. That's something I don't typically do very often, but I'm really hoping that we can get Ramondre on the way back around, and it looks like we're not going to be able to. He goes at the 803, so that really sucks. Aaron Jones and Ramondre go before we're back on the clock, but we can still make a nice pick here if we want to get JSN. I have the jersey on. I love to see it. Or we could get like a Jonathan Brooks here. And in the 8th round, I'm going to shoot for upside at the running back position. Jonathan Brooks is an elite talent. He was drafted in the 2nd round out of Texas, and he would be going much higher if he didn't have the ACL injury. However, we saw the Panthers, who have his medical records, go out there and trade up for him, and they know a lot better than us when he's going to be on the field. It seems like his timeline is he's going to be ready around week 1, and he's probably going to be back to full strength, by midseason. So I don't expect him to be a stud, early on, but I think he could still be a solid RB2 in the early parts of the year because there's really no other running back fighting for touches. You have Chuba Hubbard, who's just not very good, Miles Sanders, who's cooked, and I'm just super high in the Panthers offense in general, so that's definitely a pick I want to be making. Now we're back on the clock here, and it looks like we're going to get a shot to take JSN again. I'm definitely taking him as my wide receiver 4 in this type of league. So yeah, we have Jonathan Brooks, JSN on the bench, and that's just a whole lot of upside, but it's also a good shot because I'm not really too scared about either of them busting. Here, we're definitely going to go Tony Pollard, one of the best values in fantasy football right now after his disappointing year, and people were drafting him way too high because he never showed he could be a bell cow, but his best season was when he was playing alongside Ezekiel Elliott in a committee, the same type of backfield that he's in right now with Tajay Spears. Now I know it's not 1-for-1. Spears is a good pass catcher as well, and Pollard's actually probably going to get more of the goal line work, so that's even better for him. But nonetheless, Pollard is an efficient back when he has someone to spell him out, but if he's taking 200, 300 carries in a year, 200, 250, or even 300 total touches in a year, he's not going to be very efficient, and that's going to hurt his fantasy value a ton. So we're now back on the clock. We are at what? We are in the 11th round, and our team is pretty well-rounded. We have 2 running backs on the bench, 1 wide receiver, and we're going to be looking for the best value here. And the best value pick for me would probably be, who are the guys I really like? I really don't like this range a lot, but at this price, I probably would be willing to take a shot at a guy like Khalil Shakir. Again, I don't think he's immensely talented, but the Bills' offense has opportunity, and while you shouldn't be drafting for opportunity only in the early rounds, once we get down to, he's our wide receiver 5, I think that's a fair price to where we're saying if he's good enough, he will be getting targets, he will be very effective in fantasy football. And I don't think he's a bad player either. He's just not a guy I'm over the moon about. Now, here we have A.D. Mitchell, Blake Corum. It's pretty tough. I've been going a lot of Jerry Jeudy here, but I think Gabe Davis is honestly the best value on the board. He's pushed all the way down. I'm just not so sure if I can wait and get him in the next round. I might just go Tajay Spears, but that would be kind of handcuffing Tony Pollard, which is not something I want to do. So I think we're going to go, this is tough. Austin Eckler's not a guy I'm super high in either, and I feel good on my running backs. I might just go Jacoby Myers, but at the same time, I don't feel great about making that pick. Gabe Davis does end up falling to us. We were able to grab him right there. So I like that pick because Gabe Davis is probably going to be the wide receiver 3 for what should be a high-powered Jacksonville Jaguars offense based on the money they just gave Trevor Lawrence. Now, I'm not super confident, but again, people were drafting Gabe Davis in the 4th, 5th round a few years ago, and I still think he's a good enough deep threat. I think he's a solid player to where I'm just taking a shot on an offense that I think could have a ton of upside, even if it's not something I believe in very strongly. Here, I'm probably going to go T.J. Hawkinson, even though I already have George Kittle. I think at this price, it's just all about upside, and there's no better guy than a guy that could be, the tight end 3 after he comes back from his injury. I don't love drafting 2 tight ends in, my redraft leagues where we have the waiver wire, but I think at this price and at this year, it's a fair thing to do. I'm not drafting another quarterback, so I'm just looking at the wide receivers here. This is going to be our last pick, and let's just check out our roster real quick. So we have Kyler Murray, Saquon, Etienne, Chase, Neighbors, Kittle, T. Higgins, and our bench consists of 4 receivers, 2 running backs. So I definitely could use another RB. I do like the Jermaine Burton value, but I honestly might just end up going with the Jalen Wright pick because I like Wright more than Lloyd, and I also just think that if Wright explodes in week 1 with the Dolphins, because he's definitely going to have a role early on, he's going to be a lot harder to grab off of waivers than Marshawn Lloyd, who I don't really see him doing too much unless Josh Jacobs goes down. So now we're going to check out our roster and then check out the draft grade that we were given as well. So we have Kyler Murray as our quarterback 1. Really like that pick. Then we have Saquon, Etienne. I like that pairing. Jamar Chase and Neighbors. Neighbors is a little risky as a wide receiver 2 just because he's a rookie. Not the best situation, but I think the talent will win out. George Kittle, I think he kind of ends that tier of possibly elite tight ends this year. T. Higgins, very good player. I like him as my flex. And we also have Jonathan Brooks, JSN, Tony Pollard, Khalil Shakir. Jacoby Myers and Gabe Davis were a little but I really did not like that range. I think there's a path to success for both of them, but they are probably going to be the number 3 target on their team. Honestly, Gabe Davis, even if he's not as good as Jacoby Myers, I think I might be almost a little more confident in him just because I think that Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars could be more high-powered. Then we have Hawkinson, a ton of value once he comes back, and then Jalen Wright, who hopefully can work his way into getting touches for that elite Miami Dolphins run game. If you guys enjoyed the draft, be sure to head over to fftradingroom.com. It'll be linked in the description, link in the comments. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.